So hopefully you guys liked the handle build that I did for this tomahawk, but today I'm going to be going over the Cold Steel Rifleman's hawk. So because it's raining and I've already done a lot of use videos, I'm not going to do any use on this one unless you guys really want to see that I can come back with a part 2 showing the use of this. But today I'm just going to be showing the axe and talking about my experiences with the Rifleman's hawk and what I like and don't like about it. So overall, I kind of want to start out by saying that when I first got this tomahawk, I didn't know much about tomahawks, and there's definitely a reason why there's the words tomahawk, axe, hatchet, and these different words in our language. And the reason why I think a tomahawk really should not be built like this in particular. When I think of tomahawks now that I know more, I really think of things like the trail hawk or smaller axes or heads that they do work like this, like a tomahawk, but they have much smaller heads, much more lightweight. They don't have obnoxious poles like this, generally more rounded in here, and overall just different from this. Overall, a lot smaller and more lightweight than this. And I think ultimately a tomahawk was never really meant to be like this big. And I think if you're going this big, this heavy with this kind of design, you might as well just step up to a hatchet, because the throwability of such large tomahawks begins to get harder and less practical. It was something that I really was learning still at the time when I got this, and this is quite old. This is not new, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. And I do apologize for this paint job still kind of weirdly being on here. It's the first time I'd ever used paint stripper, and if you guys couldn't tell, I was not particularly good at it. So I do apologize for there still being chunks of paint, though I do think it kind of gives it a weird, interesting look. So anyways, to get into the axe, that kind of intro really prefaces my use and my liking with this axe. Now do keep in mind, I did make up a quick handle for this because once again, I was still kind of learning, and I didn't necessarily know hickory very well, and I was shaving down the handle and everything that I originally got. When I actually took a chunk off of the top of it, it still locks in and the handle still works well, but it's kind of funky looking, so I decided for the review I would just make my own handle for it that is still full and looks a bit better. There's not like a chunk missing up here. So this is on my own custom handle that I just built out here out of birch. Once again, that was another video that hopefully you guys have seen. But onto the head, I really think that this head is quite heavy and quite obnoxious with this very large weird pole. I will say, if you do get one of these and you want to make it a more usable tomahawk, I would recommend just taking this off and then actually rounding this quite close, not just leaving it here, but actually rounding it in, like taking it to a belt sander and just making it like a fleshing pole. If you guys are familiar with those, I would actually turn this into something like a hunting tomahawk, where it has this nice blade here and then a nice fleshing pole back here. If you guys don't know what those are, just go look them up. But I would turn this into like a hunting tomahawk if my recommended modifications. But aside from that, like I said, it is quite heavy for being a tomahawk, and that really does affect its throwability. Though I do think most woodsmen that come out with tomahawks like them in the woods for the fact that you can pop off their handles so easily, and you can make handles like this one. I mean, this one took me about 30 minutes to make, so I mean, you can make a handle for this very easily in comparison to a normal axe handle or hatchet handle. And the fact that you can actually remove the head and use the head as a splitting implement, as a more handy tool for almost like a makeshift ulu. And so there's a lot more versatility to this than an axe, so I don't think most people are throwing this, but if you do want to throw it, it's definitely not as good, though it will throw. Overall, it's a very heavy package for a tomahawk, and so that's what I really dislike about this head. Overall, I do like it for most things. It is definitely not a splitter because it is a tomahawk. This is kind of why I was saying to go over to a hatchet. There's so much weight that I think most people that are running a tool this large and this heavy would want things like splitting ability, things like very good chopping ability, but because this is a tomahawk, it has a tomahawk profile, and tomahawks are very thin in the edge, or even behind the edge. They're very thin, and so you're not going to be, or this thing is not a very good splitter at all. You're not going to be splitting much with this. And its chopping is still pretty good just because of the weight and the fact that you can get two hands behind it, but the splitting is definitely not there at all. Kind of a downside for its weight and its size. But things I do like about it, just to stop from this being totally negative, things I do like about it are that it has a very nice and wide edge. I do like tomahawks that have a very wide edge, even if it comes in and it tapers and has more of a beard, so to speak. I still like having a very wide edge, and that is something I really do like about this profile. The profile of this front piece, while I wish it was less beefy here and here, it is still a very wide edge, and I find that it is very good at chopping. Another thing is it has quite a nice and refined hammer pull. Like I mentioned with pummels of axes, I don't really use, and you guys can see this looks very new. There's a little bit of use, more like rust on it, but I just don't really use hammer pulls. I don't find myself hammering in many things just out here in the woods. So these rarely get used, but it does have a very nice hammering pull face. I still think it would be just fine if you did the conversion to a fleshing pole. It'd actually be more useful in my opinion, because then you could flesh out animals, and that would be really nice and handy. But other than that, those are pretty much my... do also like, I know this isn't the stock handle, but I do like the stock handle size. This is replicated after the stock handle size. This is actually an inch longer. I like the right around 22 to 23 inch handle length. I think that suits this head weight very well, and it allows you to get a lot of leverage to really use that weight in effective chopping. Those are my plus sides and downsides. I don't have too many plus sides on it. I really do like the price point as well. I think the steel is just fine. Of course, there's a lot of videos done out on these tomahawks already, so if you watch any of the others, you'll note that these of course have to be sharpened when you get them. This one's pretty good. This one might use a little bit of work, especially down here, but overall I've done a pretty good job on getting this one sharp. One thing I'd recommend, if you do have a belt sander handy, maybe taking back this edge just a little bit more. I find the Scandi grinds on these personally to be just a little too short, especially for the heft. It starts to be a little bit ineffective, because with the Scandi, once it hits the edge of that Scandi, the effectiveness of the bite goes down drastically, or how deep you're going to go in goes down drastically. So if you could further this probably about another ½ inch to inch, that would definitely be a recommended idea for the grind. But overall it's pretty good, other than needing to be sharpened. And I really do like these Cold Steel tomahawks. They're really great templates for modification, and I think that's why most people buy them, is to, get them, modify them into what the person really wants, and then going out into the woods and using it. Well guys, it's a really great tomahawk made by Cold Steel, and I would highly recommend it if you are going into it with a kind of hunting application. Your intentions are to modify it to make it kind of like a handy hunting hawk. No mistakes guys, this is definitely no replacement for a hatchet, just because, like I said, of the wedge being pretty much nothing here. It's very thin, so keep that in mind. But if you guys can live with that, or if you just really like this design, I would highly encourage it. It is very well built and very durable, other than the handle. And don't be like me and screw up the original handle, because it comes with a just fine handle, and you can modify that handle. So anyways guys, that has been my take and opinion review on the Tomahawk, or Cold Steel Trailhawk rather. And don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and tell me what you guys think of this Tomahawk and the other Cold Steel Tomahawks, and if you guys have any experience with this line. Apologize for no use, but it is starting to rain out quite a bit, and I don't really want to go out and use this in the rain. It's not fun. But anyways, guys, I'm out.